I'm Tommy D from the KnicksBlog.com. We're within a week of the NBA draft. Welcome to another edition of TKB TV. We will be talking about really the prospects from the 15 to 25 range, and I will be doing that with none other than the Director of NBA Scouting, Ryan Blake, who's joining us on the phone. Ryan, how you doing, my brother?
I'm doing well, man. Appreciate you having me.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I know your time is in demand right now and will be up until this coming Thursday. Let's get right into it. I think the initial turning point or breaking point in the draft will be what the Jazz decide to do. You know, you figure out, will Irving go one? Is it going to be Williams? You know, people are talking a lot about Cantor. I think it's, do the Jazz go point guard one? And if not, then that kind of opens up the door for Fredette to them at 12 if they want to go that route. Just give me your initial thoughts on what you think the Jazz are thinking with that first pick, moving again towards that second pick.
It is going to be interesting, and it does start with them because we really still don't know what's going to happen at the first pick. Again, you got Minnesota who signed Rubio, and that means Cleveland's sort of in the driver's seat on what to pick. You know, I think once Utah decides, which I think they may go point guard, you know, they have that second pick down there at 12, and then it opens up. I think you're right about that. But, again, this is a roller coaster ride, and it's going to be a fast one.
Now, let's say they do go point guard early. They're not going to necessarily be in position to think about Jimmer Fredette at 12, which kind of leads me to believe he may get past the Suns. And that's why when I pull up my 15 to 25 idea, which, you know, is as best guess as I could come up with, Indiana, which I guess the Knicks are talking about possibly getting into a situation of moving up 2 spots. I'm not sure I'm buying that. I think they're going to have to give up too much, probably Tony Douglas, just to get up to those 2 spots. So let's just say Fredette ends up at 15 with the Pacers. I think Jordan Hamilton would be a good fit for the Sixers in that 16 spot because then they could really talk about trading Iguodala, which leaves the Knicks at 17. I'm not sure this guy's on the board, but if you have Kenneth Faried and Chris Singleton on the board, if you're the Knicks, which direction are you going?
Well, with Singleton, you've got a versatile swing and a small power forward, a guy who can play defense. He can spread the floor. He's an improving outside shooter. He's a runner. He's well-conditioned. He's improved his outside shot. I think he still has room to grow and a high ceiling. But you got more of an offensive player when comparing him to Kenneth Faried. Faried is going to be a great rebounder. He's going to be a great defender. Best conditioned athlete in this draft. He wants a rebound like it's a pot of gold. This guy I really like. He's only 6'7", but he plays bigger. He's very long, and they're really 2 separate players. So, I mean, when they're down in their draft room, they're going to really have to, you know, grind it out and say, what do I need? And you know what? They need defense, and both these guys are defensive players at the moment.
I think a guy, or I've heard a guy that they are very big on is Klay Thompson. I think he's off the board. Donnie Walsh has been quoted recently as saying that he finds him to be very similar to Reggie Miller. Just give us your take very quickly on Klay Thompson, a guy who I know the Knicks are interested in.
Well, Klay is a quality size perimeter player. He's made strides with his outside shooting. He can nail it down deep. He's got quickness, shooting ability, range. He's got defensive intensity and fundamentals. He's improved his handle, passer, getting to the free throw line, and his free throw percentages. You know, at 6'6", you know, he's going to be playing out there at the guard, which is a great, at small guard, which is a great size to have out there. He's going to be an offensive guy. Obviously, they need the work on the defensive end, but when Thompson gets in there, he's got to earn his minutes because he's only going to be the 5th option. So he's got to earn it defensively first.
Now, if Singleton isn't on the board or Thompson's not on the board, you know, you're looking at Faried probably being towards the top of the list, and Jimmer won't be on the list either because he will be gone probably before the Knicks come around. You're probably looking at what I consider between that, you know, 17 to 25 range is a litany of really, really good point guards. You were on a couple weeks ago talking about the point guards. You can go in a lot of different directions here, but I think Charles Jenkins could really be the sleeper and could be a guy in that range. I don't know if the Knicks think about him at 17 or if they think about a guard at 17, but he's probably going to go into that like early 20s range. I see him maybe to the Blazers, depending on what's going on with Brandon Roy.
Yeah, you really got to do your homework on this kid because he is really a strong combo guard. The thing I really liked about him is he's such an efficient player. And he's improved his passing ability. His knowledge is supreme. He plays defense. He gets his teammates involved. He's very mature. He's a leader. And he can score. I mean, when you look down at the box score at the half or at the end of the game and you go, oh, I didn't know he had 25 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, a couple steals and a block. I only thought, he had just 12 points because he does it. So he takes great shot selection. He's very cerebral. He plays below the rim and mentally, and that's the way you got to work. And he's an athlete. So when you have a complete or an all-around player like that who can play 2 positions, the point and the off guard, you become very valuable.
To me, there are guys who can get to the rim and they utilize their athleticism with the ball to be able to get there. Everybody's kind of looking at where that next Derrick Rose type of player, John Wall type of player who can actually get to the rim. Very few master the art of the pull-up and the mid-range shot, and Jenkins seems to do that because he doesn't rely on. He's a good athlete, but he doesn't rely on his athleticism getting to the rim, and I think that's something that could separate him. And then just looking at one last guy who's a local guy is Tobias Harris. I see him to the Nuggets. Almost in a sense, because when I started seeing him in high school, he reminded me a lot of Carmelo Anthony, which is unfair, as most comparisons are. But I see him as a guy who could be a fit for Denver at 22 because really, they need a guy who can really get in that small forward position in that area to stretch the defense out to the perimeter, which Melo did often. But what do you think about Tobias Harris, a possible fit with Denver at 22?
Well, listen, down at Tennessee where they had a lot of turmoil in terms of the coaching and all that, he was really the leader on that team as a freshman. He's had international experience playing in Germany, but he's a cerebral player with a high IQ. He's got a good handle. He can play back to the basket or on the perimeter. With size at 6'8", he's a guy with deep range and mid-range. He loves to run. He had to play a lot of power forward, but I think he's one of those swings that, he'll eventually end up more at the small forward spot. They always say, he's a swing is either a tweener if he can't play and a swing if he is, and I think he's definitely a swing.
And Ryan, lastly, 2 guys getting back to the Knicks just in closing. Vukovic from USC and Montejunas, if I'm pronouncing that, Montejunas, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. 2 guys who could be there at 17. European players, good size, good skill, certainly could be a possibility and a good fit in a Mike D'Antoni type of system. Just give us a little bit on both those guys.
I think you did real well with the pronunciation.
Oh,
okay.
Nice.
I usually spit on my screen on something when I say his name. So, but Montejunas is picking up an upside. This guy was highly scouted because of his upside a few years ago, and he's a face-the-basket power forward. He's long. He can shoot it. I really think that he needs to play more with a sense of urgency because, he hasn't developed as well or as quickly as we thought he would. He's got great instincts and IQ. He just needs to be more fast-twitch and reactionary. Vukovic from USC, double-double guy. He's led the Pac-10 in rebounding the last 2 years, measured at 7 feet. He's got feathery touch from inside and out. He can shoot the 3. He's a great pick-and-pop guy, and if you have a motor like him, you got a guy that could actually come in and add, something different to a team because of his versatility. I really like this kid, and I think he's moving up in the draft. We're high on him, and we just got to see what the rest of the teams think.
Sounds like a skill set the Knicks definitely need. Ryan, thank you again so much for your time. We look forward to seeing you out in Newark next Thursday. Thanks again.
You got it. All the best. Come say hello.
You got it. And remember, to get all your information on the Knicks and the NBA draft, make sure to check out the KnicksBlog.com, part of the SNY.TV blog network. I'm Tommy D. We'll see you next time.